You're listening to 12 Degrees Freely with Madeline Andrews, striving to level the playing field so people can be, do, and have the life they always wanted. Hi, Madeline Andrews here, also known as the Energy Diva. Wow, did we have fun with episode 1 or what? 12 Degrees of Freedom. Well, with this episode, we're going to look at consciousness on blast. So, like I heard at this Oprah symposium when I was in my 20s, that there's this age. For quite a few people, it begins about 40, when you've just about had it up to here with all the BS and the disease to please goes right out the door. Yeah, more or less about 40. At least that's when it happened with me. It was like the energy was ushering in change for me. I was mom, homeschooling my daughter after leaving corporate America, and a marriage I had outgrown. Hell, let's face it, I probably outgrew it about year 3 or 4, but we're not going to go there. Going on 10 years of marriage, and I knew something had to change. You have all of this active chi in your body, and you feel like your life force energy is being sucked from your body through a straw by everyone and everything. And you're praying and calling out, God, somebody, please help me. Because you know that you're here for something else, but you can't quite understand or make it out yet. Well, ding, 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 prayers answered, because I got hurled into 2012. You know, the year that was supposed to be the end. I was finally going through a divorce. Counseling wasn't working, even though the counselor said it probably wouldn't after the first visit. But at least we knew we still had to co-navigate some additional years because we had a child together. But the bizarre part about going through the entire divorce ordeal was that I was going through this divorce in consciousness, which totally shakes up the energy and makes it weird as hell. Allow me to elaborate. I was working on my master's thesis for metaphysical science, and I ended up listening to this consciousness series called Quantum Consciousness, Healing, and Soul with Shifra Hendry. And there were these energy and light workers doing Reiki and sending energy, and they had these dynamic speakers. Dr. Bruce Lipton, Donna Eaton, Greg Brayton, Howard Martin, Rabbi Reuben Wolf, Caitlin Kate, Larry Crane, Rebecca Quave, Harrison Klein, Ann Taylor, Jennifer Hugh, Richard Gordon, Dane Here, and Rika Zimmerman, Maureen Moss, Norm Sheely, Dr. Melanie Smith, Mark Romano, Christy Marie Sheldon, Higher Winards, and Rabbi Daniel Cohn. And what was so mind-blowing at the time is that I had never heard of any of these enlightened people. The extent of my metaphysical library consisted of Buckminster Fuller, Manly P. Hall, Deepak Chopra, the Three Initiates, Eckhart Tolle, and the late great Wayne Dyer. And don't get me wrong, that's a pretty dynamic and impressive group of teachers and speakers. But just like metaphysics and energy, you have to continue to add, to mix it up, so to speak, so that you're getting different perspectives and insight. But now, I can't forget the ones introduced to me in that series and subsequent other series that they were on that year. By the way, I ended up listening to about 350 interviews that year. And with quantum consciousness, healing, and soul, I'm listening to these speakers daily, sometimes more than one person, and even sometimes the same interview within the same day with the replay. And then I go to the store and come home just to find that my ex had jacked the TV that we both purchased together because I hadn't changed the locks yet and nothing had been formalized yet. And I'm fuming mad, but I've got Dr. Dane here and Rika Zimmerman running clearance statements that day, which is a tool of access consciousness. So I'm mad in the sense of things, but I'm not mad in my body any longer. And I'm looking at it like it's some kind of movie playing out that I'm watching. And I'm being told, well, anger is a sign of consciousness. That it's okay to be angry, but yell at the energy and not the person. So I'm sitting around like, I'm in what the hell mode because I'm angry at the lingering thought, but the energy has shifted. When you are awakened in consciousness and are starting to see the belief systems and points of view you're carrying for what they truly are, powerful concepts behind suggestions that you can either wear or throw that crap out because it's not really your size anymore and it doesn't serve you any longer, it makes all the difference in the world. It was downright weird going through a divorce or anything consciously. Because you've been told by the outside world, sometimes by people close, sometimes by the so-called experts, exactly what the experience will be like and what to expect. But stepping into consciousness opens up that beautiful door called choice. And you can change your mind to whatever. You can live it. You can step back and watch it. You can watch it morph with observer effect. You can throw all kinds of monkey wrenches in it in all kinds of ways while paying attention to it, but not giving it any energy or emotions. Now, I have a little glimpse of that through my childbirth experience because I was told in childbirth class that my labor was going to feel like a freight train going through my stomach. But my husband and I decided I was going to go into hypnotic trance. And this is before I got my hypnotherapy training with Dr. Charles Skillis. But I tell you what, my active labor was 4 hours. I didn't have an epidural. I asked to go home before 48 hours after delivery. And I even pulled the car up to the loading area of the maternity ward because my husband forgot where he parked the car. And I even walked out with the gentleman who was going to be wheeling out the new moms, telling them, yeah, you're going to be wheeling me out in a little bit. We're both cracking up laughing, especially when he wheeled me out. All that to say, the power of suggestion, if you're not standing in consciousness and awareness of what's influencing you and your experience, is a powerful control mechanism that will dictate your experience instead of you just truly having the full experience. But let's dive a little deeper into consciousness. Consciousness on blast. I want to play with something. Let's play with this concept called time. By the way, you do realize that everything is a concept. Some idea or expression of an idea that you and a bunch of people bought into. I talk about that more in my episode about conceptuality, systems, and fields of potentiality. But let's get into this concept called time. Have to be there by this time or we're late. There doesn't seem to be enough time. So what exactly is time? Years ago, there was this article in Discover magazine about Planck time. Now, Planck time is the smallest unit of time where attoseconds drag by like eons, and where the distances and intervals between things are so short in nature that the conceptual presence of time and space break down. And this article even pointed out that we never, ever see time. We see clocks, but we don't see time. And yet we have defined this concept of time as the number of clicks on the clock. And to make it even juicier, humans have defined it, or at least used to, as 1/86/400th of the length of a single day. But they've since discovered that the Earth's rotation is slowed down by tidal friction of the sun and moon, which increases the length of a single day by 3 milliseconds for each century. And strong winds can slow down the Earth's rotation by a fraction of a millisecond every 24 hours. So, in order to keep time in sync with the slowing down of the Earth's rotation, they've had to add a leap second every few years. What's that? Oh, so we're changing things up to fit the definition. It's no longer the original humanly defined conceptual definition. We're making this crap up as we go along, talking about this is a fact, when in essence, it changes. The only constant is change. In consciousness, we've become aware that when we're talking about the concept of time, we're only looking at the clicks on a clock. We can define the concept by ignoring the clicks and by using concerted energy towards going beyond the concept of time. We can even look at it as creating the energy concept of space between two energy events. And entertain something Fuller said. When you're looking at the North Star, You're looking at a live show taking place 470 years away and ago. It has taken that much quote unquote time for light to reach us at this very moment. Wow. Just wow. All of this, every single bit of this, is to get you to understand that consciousness is the ability to take these concepts, any concept, and spin it in a multitude of ways without locking it in as this is this, period. That helps you look at the various possibilities when you're deciding where to go, and it keeps you open to more than one way and one way only. We're not simply linear beings, and consciousness see the concept, acknowledge it, and be mindful of the human definitions of it. But be bold and creative enough to play around with it, play with the concept until you get the result in which you wish to attain, all the while still keeping it fluid. I'm Madeline Andrews, also known as the Energy Diva. Check out my website at madelineandrews.com or energydiva.com. That's INNERGDIVA.com, or 12 Degrees Freedom, the number 12, the 2 words degrees, freedom spelled out.com. There you can find my products, services, programs, my email list, and social media links. And always remember, the greatest gift God ever gave us was the gift of mind, not the brain. Give yourself the great gift by tapping into universal mind and open yourself up to the possibilities.